smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us. So technically, it becomes an unidentified flying object.
One of mankind's greatest achievements, the Apollo 11 moon landing, remains a source of endless fascination.
I have no doubt that extraterrestrials made structures on the far side of the moon.
However, there are reported secrets NASA has never revealed to the public.
What's so bizarre is that this area has undeniable architecture that looks like what you would see from obelisks.
Do we truly know everything about the moon? Speculations arise that 1969 wasn't really the first time humans set foot there. So what might the government be hiding about our closest celestial neighbor?
We are not alone after all, are we?
No, sir. We're not alone.
Join us as we uncover the mysteries, secrets, and shocking debates surrounding the mission that changed history forever. The greatest mankind's achievement. On July 21st, 1969, at 2:56 UTC, Neil Armstrong made history as he stepped onto the moon's surface.
It's one small step for man.
Moments later, at 3:15 UTC, Buzz Aldrin joined him, and together they became the first humans to walk on another celestial body. The Apollo 11 mission, with Michael Collins piloting the command module in lunar orbit, marked a monumental achievement.
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
The pair planted the American flag, collected lunar samples, and conducted experiments, spending over 2 hours exploring the moon. But what we're about to reveal may make you question everything you thought you knew. What are these revelations? And how does this successful adventure affect our understanding about the planet that we live on? The controversies. Now that you've heard the official story of the Apollo 11 mission, here's the side they didn't want you to know. Shortly after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, something extraordinary and terrifying allegedly happened. As they prepared to plant the American flag, the Apollo 11 crew reportedly encountered a massive, technologically advanced mothership on the moon's surface. According to whispers from leaked mission transcripts, Armstrong described the ship as big and menacing, surrounded by structures that suggested the presence of an advanced civilization long before humanity's arrival. These revelations first came to light in the 1990s, following the declassification of mission documents. Two key whistleblowers, Milton William Cooper, an ex-Navy intelligence officer, and Carl Wolf, a technician at Tactical Air Command Langley, were among those who brought these shocking claims to the public's attention. Cooper alleged that the US government had knowledge of extraterrestrial activity on the moon, while Wolf stated he saw photographic evidence of lunar installations during his time at NASA. But as these whistleblowers stepped forward, their lives were cut short under mysterious circumstances. Cooper was fatally shot outside his home during a confrontation with law enforcement over alleged tax evasion. Wolf, on the other hand, was found dead shortly after agreeing to testify before Congress about what he had seen. NASA has consistently dismissed claims of extraterrestrial encounters during the Apollo 11 mission as baseless conspiracy theories. However, these denials have done little to quell suspicions. Why were these whistleblowers silenced? Why did official mission records take decades to surface? And most importantly, what did the Apollo 11 crew truly find on the moon that remains hidden from the world? These unanswered questions only deepen the mystery surrounding one of humanity's most celebrated achievements, leaving us to wonder, was the Apollo 11 mission as straightforward as history remembers it, or was there a darker, more otherworldly truth? The secrets of the Apollo 11 mission. Everyone's familiar with the image of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin planting the American flag on the moon. Most people even know that the astronauts left behind their boots and other items to reduce the spacecraft's weight for their return to Earth. But here's the part you likely haven't heard: they also left a special disc inscribed with goodwill messages from 77 world leaders. Now here's the strange part. This disc wasn't just a quirky souvenir, it featured the inscription, "Brought to the moon by the astronauts of Apollo 11. Around the rim, another message read, "Goodwill messages from around the world in 1969. But hold on, why leave goodwill messages on a supposedly barren rock? A message implies the expectation of a recipient capable of reading or understanding it. So who exactly were these messages for? It gets even weirder. Allegedly, after landing on the moon, the Apollo 11 astronauts reported something unexpected back to mission control. According to leaked transcripts supposedly intercepted by amateur radio enthusiasts, a reported exchange described astronauts expressing shock at large unidentified objects and claiming there were visitors beneath the surface. They supposedly stated that other spacecraft were lined up along the far side of a crater edge, and that these visitors had been on the moon for some time, observing them. Otto Binder, a former NASA employee, claimed that amateur radio operators with VHF equipment bypassed NASA's censored broadcasts to overhear this conversation. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? According to Binder, the dialogue revealed an unsettling reality. The astronauts may not have been alone on the moon. And it doesn't end there. This alleged conversation was later backed up by a transcript in which Neil Armstrong himself reportedly acknowledged encountering something enormous and unexplainable on the lunar surface. Armstrong is said to have described them as huge and enormous. So what exactly did they see on the moon? If there were visitors, who or what were they? And if this was all just a rumor, why has NASA gone to such lengths to discredit it? Well, let's find out. Hidden secrets of the moon's far side. Shortly after the infamous transcript went viral, another controversial document emerged. A transcript of a private interview between Neil Armstrong and an unnamed professor. According to the document, Armstrong allegedly admitted that during the Apollo 11 mission, he and the crew encountered spacecraft on the moon that were technologically superior and far larger than their own. Describing them as big and menacing, Armstrong's words fueled one of the most enduring moon conspiracy theories. This theory ties into claims about the far side of the moon, an area perpetually hidden from Earth. Some ufologists argue that the craters and surface anomalies there are not natural formations, but are instead entrances to a vast network of tunnels and underground cities. These alleged bases, collectively referred to as lunar, are said to house alien civilizations shielded from space's harsh environment. Milton William Cooper, a former U.S. naval intelligence officer, played a pivotal role in popularizing this theory. Cooper alleged that NASA had discovered and even filmed an alien base during the Apollo 8 mission in 1968, a year before Apollo 11's historic landing. According to Cooper, the base contained massive spacecraft, mining equipment, and evidence of advanced technology far beyond humanity's capabilities. He claimed that NASA was aware of these bases and deliberately suppressed the information to avoid public panic. Adding to the controversy, Cooper described Luna as a fully operational alien hub, where spacecraft moved through visible tunnels etched into the lunar surface, somewhat akin to highways. Intriguingly, some lunar photos do show unusual marks that resemble tunnels or tracks, although NASA attributes these features to natural geological processes. The lunar base story, however, comes with a darker twist. Cooper's vocal stance on extraterrestrial phenomena and government conspiracies made him a polarizing figure. On November 6, 2001, he was shot dead by law enforcement outside his home, ostensibly during a standoff related to tax evasion charges. While the official narrative emphasizes his legal troubles, conspiracy theorists suggest his death might have been an attempt to silence his revelations. Despite these sensational claims, NASA has consistently denied the existence of alien bases or spacecraft on the moon. Skeptics argue that these stories rely on misinterpreted data, speculative transcripts, and blurry lunar images. However, the unanswered questions surrounding the far side of the moon leave room for endless speculation. Could there truly be alien civilizations hidden within the lunar surface, operating advanced bases right above us? Or are these stories a fascinating web of myth and conjecture? The mystery remains unsolved. Buzz Aldrin, misinterpretation or concealed truth? Buzz Aldrin, one of the astronauts who made the historic moon landing, has also been at the center of controversy due to statements he allegedly made regarding unidentified objects seen during the mission.
Saw this illumination that was moving with respect to the stars. We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us. So technically it becomes an unidentified flying object.
Over the years, Aldrin has alternated between dismissing and cautiously acknowledging such claims, leaving many to question whether his remarks were genuinely misinterpreted or if he was concealing something far more significant. Aldrin has publicly stated that his comments about UFOs were taken out of context. In interviews, he clarified that what they saw during the Apollo 11 mission was likely the upper stage of their Saturn V rocket, reflecting sunlight as it trailed behind their spacecraft. However, skeptics argue that this explanation doesn't align with other cryptic remarks he made. For example, in an interview on Fox News, Aldrin appeared to hint at the crew's reluctance to openly discuss the object. "Listen, we just about could have said, 'Look, we see a UFO out the window going along with us.' You know what would have happened? The public would have gone crazy. We're smart enough to say, 'Where is the upper stage rocket? We think we might be looking at that out the window.'" Such statements spark questions. Was Aldrin genuinely identifying the object as part of their own spacecraft, or was he deliberately downplaying the sighting to avoid mass hysteria? Adding fuel to the fire, UFO enthusiast and filmmaker James Fox revealed that Aldrin's sister, Faye Ann Potter, claimed her brother privately admitted that something followed Apollo 11 to the moon. Potter's comments suggest that Aldrin was aware of phenomena he didn't feel comfortable discussing publicly. Further complicating the narrative, Fox alleged that Aldrin initially agreed to an interview for his documentary, where he would candidly share his side of the story. At the last moment, Aldrin withdrew, reportedly fearing the backlash of being labeled a UFO nut. This hesitation, coupled with NASA's firm stance that no UFOs were encountered during Apollo 11, raises questions about whether the astronaut felt pressured to adhere to an official narrative. While Aldrin has remained reserved about the details, others have been less cautious. Whistleblowers, former NASA employees, and ufologists have all stepped forward with claims of extraterrestrial encounters during the Apollo missions. This has led to speculation that Aldrin and his crewmates might have witnessed something extraordinary, but were constrained by political or institutional pressure to remain silent. Ultimately, were Aldrin's words truly misconstrued, or part of a deliberate effort to obscure the truth? Maurice Chatan and the Secrets of Apollo 11. One of the most intriguing figures in the Apollo 11 UFO controversy is Maurice Chatan, a communications engineer who claimed to have insider knowledge of NASA's hidden truths. Chatan, who once worked with NASA and contributed to the design of the Apollo spacecraft, made waves in 1979 when he publicly alleged that Neil Armstrong and his crew encountered UFOs during their moon mission. His claims weren't just speculative. Chatan asserted that nearly everyone at NASA was aware of the extraterrestrial sightings, but had collectively agreed to remain silent. According to Chatan, the Apollo 11 astronauts reported seeing a UFO perched on the rim of a lunar crater shortly after their historic landing. The startling encounter wasn't unique to Apollo 11 either. Chatan revealed that all Apollo and Gemini missions were shadowed by unidentified flying objects, which sometimes came alarmingly close to the spacecraft. Whenever such incidents occurred, astronauts would alert mission control, and NASA would allegedly cut off public transmissions to prevent these reports from reaching Earth. Chatan's claims were supported by others, including Soviet physicist and mathematician Dr. Vladimir Azhaja. According to Dr. Azhaja, Armstrong reported seeing two massive mysterious objects observing the astronauts from near the lunar module. However, NASA allegedly censored the message, ensuring it was never broadcast to the public. Adding fuel to the fire, Chatan pointed out a puzzling anomaly. Shortly after the Apollo 11 mission, NASA reported losing a significant portion of high-quality footage from the lunar landing. For an organization capable of putting men on the moon, the idea of misplacing such valuable material seemed absurd. Critics argue that the footage was deliberately destroyed or hidden to cover up evidence of extraterrestrial encounters. But why would NASA, a civilian agency, go to such lengths to suppress this information? The answer might lie in the National Aeronautics and Space Act of 1958, which granted NASA the authority to withhold classified information for reasons of national security. While NASA's primary focus is space exploration, the clause raises unsettling questions about what kind of national threats might exist beyond Earth. Could extraterrestrial activity qualify as such a threat? Chatan also claimed that NASA routinely altered space imagery before releasing it to the public. According to whistleblowers, UFOs were often airbrushed out of photos to maintain the agency's narrative. But did the controversies end with Maurice Chatan claims? Well, let's find out. Donna Hare, Carl Wolf, and NASA's UFO cover-up. Donna Hare, a former employee of NASA, contributed to the growing body of evidence surrounding the alleged cover-up of UFO encounters. Hare worked in Building 8 at the Johnson Space Center, which houses NASA's photo lab. According to her, one day while in the lab, a colleague pointed out a strange round dot in a satellite photo, which had a clear shadow on the ground, something not possible if it were just a flaw in the image. When she inquired about it, he hinted that it was a UFO, but refused to confirm it. He explained that NASA had a standard protocol. Any UFOs visible in photos were airbrushed out before being released to the public. Hare claimed that this practice was well known among NASA employees, but most were too afraid to speak out for fear of losing their jobs. She also spoke with Apollo astronauts, who all allegedly confirmed seeing UFOs during their moon missions. According to Hare, the astronauts even had a code word for these UFOs, Santa Claus, to discreetly communicate their presence. Despite facing heavy skepticism and ridicule when she first went public, further background checks revealed that Hare's story was credible. She had worked at NASA, and her location and career history supported her claims, adding weight to her allegations. Another whistleblower, Sergeant Carl Wolf, came forward with a similar story. Wolf, a technician for the Director of Intelligence at the Tactical Air Command Headquarters, was once invited to an NSA facility to repair photographic equipment. Despite not having clearance, his skills earned him access to a secret facility where he met an airman who revealed a shocking discovery: a base on the far side of the moon. The airman showed Wolf photos of strange structures on the moon, including mushroom-shaped buildings, spherical structures, and towers. These photos, along with the presence of foreign scientists at the facility, suggested that multiple governments were studying these lunar anomalies. What's particularly scary about Wolf's testimony is that it occurred in 1965, 4 years before the Apollo 11 mission and the alleged UFO sightings on the moon. Wolf later expressed willingness to testify before Congress, but before he could, he was mysteriously killed, adding to the suspicion surrounding his story. The conspiracy surrounding NASA and UFOs deepened in 2009 when NASA launched a mission to bomb the moon, claiming they were searching for water. However, no water was found, raising questions about the true motivations behind the mission. Was it really just a search for water, or was there another, more secretive reason for this destructive action? Both Hare and Wolf's accounts, along with other incidents and inconsistencies in NASA's public record, fuel the theory that the space agency has been concealing evidence of extraterrestrial encounters, including UFOs on the moon. Did high-ranking officials within NASA deliberately alter or hide key photographic evidence from the public? Well, while we hope for answers, let's move on to another shocking controversy: the moon landing hoax, a laughable conspiracy. Now, here's a humorous conspiracy that might even make you laugh. The idea that NASA never actually landed on the moon in 1969 and the entire event was a big hoax. According to this theory, the US government staged the moon landing to win the space race against the Soviet Union, using a Hollywood-style production with special effects, props, and a studio set. One of the main arguments is the flag planted by Neil Armstrong. Conspiracy theorists claim it's waving, which is impossible since there's no wind on the moon. Another point they bring up is the absence of stars in the photos. If you look closely, the sky in the moon photos is pitch black with no stars. Skeptics argue that this proves it's a fake. And then there's the issue of shadows. Some theorists say the shadows in the photos look like they're coming from different directions, suggesting multiple light sources, which would be impossible on the moon. But with every conspiracy theory, there can only be one truth: the truth. And now let's move on to the truth. The truth about the whistleblowers. When we started this exploration of the Apollo moon landings and the associated controversies, we promised we would look at every possible angle. We've already examined the claims and conspiracy theories, but it's crucial to now focus on NASA's side of the story. NASA, the US space agency responsible for one of mankind's greatest achievements, has consistently worked to debunk the allegations and rumors surrounding the moon landings. One of the most famous claims involves Buzz Aldrin, who was accused of suggesting he saw a UFO during his Apollo mission. Aldrin, however, has been very clear that any statements made by him implying he saw a UFO were taken out of context. According to Aldrin, the communication was misinterpreted, and NASA, realizing the potential for misunderstanding, removed the comments from open channels. David Morrison, a senior scientist at NASA, has also supported Aldrin's explanation, stating that the agency was simply trying to avoid any confusion that might arise from the open conversation. Unfortunately, this action backfired, giving UFO enthusiasts a new talking point for their theories. Another key element of the moon landing controversy comes from various whistleblowers, such as Carl Wolf and Maurice Chatan, who have made bold claims about UFOs or secret alien bases on the moon. However, the evidence to support these claims has been called into question. For instance, Carl Wolf's account of an airman showing him photos of a base on the far side of the moon raises serious doubts. According to the conspiracy, the airman should have been prosecuted for breaching national security by revealing this information, yet there was no action taken. As for Maurice Chatan, though he claimed to be a part of NASA's operations, it was later revealed that he had only worked for a private contractor in Los Angeles. This makes his credibility questionable at best. Moreover, many sources that have been associated with UFO-related moon landing conspiracies later disavowed their own statements. Leonard Stringfield, a prominent figure in the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, was quoted as saying that the government's release of information about the moon would be groundbreaking. However, Stringfield himself denied ever making such a claim. Similarly, John Schuessler, another figure in the UFO community, later clarified that his previous statements about astronauts finding alien bases on the moon were misquoted. Among the more widely publicized whistleblowers is Donna, a former NASA employee who claimed to have seen a technician airbrushing UFOs out of space photographs. Hare's story has been scrutinized heavily. She described seeing a photo of a UFO with a shadow of trees on the ground. But according to James Ober, a retired NASA mission control operator, such detailed images were not possible at the time. NASA simply did not have the technology required to capture detailed Earth images that would show trees and their shadows, and no such images have been found in NASA's archives. The image that Hare described doesn't match the types of photos NASA was producing during the Apollo missions. Now let's move away from the whistleblowers and pay attention to the transcripts. The truth about the transcripts. There is also the issue of the infamous transcripts that have circulated within UFO conspiracy circles. Many of these transcripts claim that NASA astronauts talked about UFOs or alien observations while on the moon. However, closer examination of these transcripts shows inconsistencies. First, the vocabulary used in the transcripts differs from the actual language used by astronauts. For example, astronauts refer to Houston, not mission control, and use phrases like "say again" instead of "repeat, repeat." These discrepancies suggest that some of the transcripts circulating among conspiracy theorists are not authentic. One of the most famous allegations comes from a widely circulated transcript that claims Neil Armstrong said, "They're watching us," while on the moon. However, the actual communication that took place during the Apollo 11 mission does not support this claim. In reality, the conversation in question was between Michael Collins, the astronaut piloting the command module, and mission control, while Armstrong and Aldrin were on the lunar surface. The voices were transmitted through the same radio channel, and due to the quality of the communication, it would have been difficult for listeners to distinguish between the different astronauts. This likely led to a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of the words. According to James Ober, the mix-up could have happened because of overlapping communication and the poor quality of radio signals at the time. In addition to these explanations, there are several other reasons to doubt the moon landing hoax theories. First, the sheer scale of the Apollo program and the number of people involved make it unlikely that such a large-scale conspiracy could be kept secret for so long. More than 400,000 people were part of the Apollo missions, from engineers and scientists to astronauts and contractors. The logistics and coordination required for the missions would have made it extremely difficult to fabricate the entire operation. The fact that no credible whistleblower has come forward with irrefutable evidence to support the hoax claims further strengthens NASA's position. The evidence in support of the moon landings is overwhelming. Thousands of photos, hours of video footage, and reams of data from the Apollo missions have been thoroughly analyzed. The scientific experiments conducted on the moon and the collection of lunar rocks have been extensively studied by scientists around the world. Many of these lunar rocks are unique and cannot be replicated on Earth, further supporting the fact that they were brought back from the moon. In addition, independent space agencies and private companies that have launched missions to the moon in recent years have all confirmed the authenticity of the Apollo landings. For instance, recent satellite images from lunar missions by China, India, and private companies show the Apollo landing sites, complete with the remnants of the lunar modules and rover tracks. These images provide undeniable evidence that humans did, in fact, land on the moon. Now let's take a look at the moon landing hoax theory. Debunking the moon landing hoax theory. There have been numerous claims about the Apollo moon landings being faked, but each of these theories has been debunked by experts. One common claim is that the flag planted on the moon appears to be waving. However, the flag's ripples were caused by the astronauts twisting the pole to plant it, and the lack of gravity on the moon meant the flag didn't fall straight down, giving it that appearance. Another claim is the absence of stars in the photos. The cameras were set to short exposures to capture the brightly lit lunar surface, making faint stars invisible. Regarding the strange shadows in photos, the sharp contrasts are due to the sun's direct light and the reflective lunar surface, not multiple light sources as some suggest. The extreme temperatures on the moon also raise questions, but astronauts were protected by their spacesuits and the lunar module's temperature control system. Some argue we should see the lunar landers from Earth, but the landing sites are too small for even the most powerful telescopes. Lastly, the Van Allen radiation belts, often cited as a barrier to space travel, were safely crossed with minimal exposure thanks to NASA's careful planning and spacecraft shielding. All these points have logical, scientific explanations, proving the moon landings were real. While conspiracy theories are enticing, they cannot change the fact that humans did indeed land on the moon in 1969. So what should we believe? What to believe? The moon landings stand as monumental milestones in human achievement, backed by extensive scientific data, photographs, and ongoing lunar exploration. While conspiracy theories may spark curiosity, the evidence overwhelmingly supports that humans did land on the moon. The Apollo missions have left a lasting legacy, inspiring future generations to explore beyond our world. However, the choice of what to believe ultimately rests with you. Whether you trust in the overwhelming proof or choose to entertain alternative theories, it is up to you to decide where the truth lies. Keep questioning, but always consider the facts. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.